check out. But for now, we've got some awesome guy in the building with us. I won't give too much away.
This is a very, 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 very rare topic. So
Yeah,
I'm very excited about this interview. Welcome to Ekse,
Welcome, man.
Alex.
Thank you very much
Awesome
for
stuff.
having me here.
Awesome stuff. Yeah, can you please tell us who you are and what it is that you do?
My name is Alex, as you've pointed out,
Yeah.
and I'm the head of copywriting at Vega, the School of Brand Leadership. So copywriting is one of the core disciplines of creative brand communications. At Vega, we are all about breeding a new breed of creative solvers of brand problems, you know, like really changing the world through design thinking and through left field problem solving skills.
Yeah. Sure. All right, perfect. And I mean, with the matter at hand right now, I mean, first and foremost, we'd like to know, so why rhinos being poached in any case?
Well, rhinos are being poached. There's various reasons. The most overwhelming one is the value of their horn.
Yeah.
And the really surreal and absurd thing about this is that the horn is in itself of no value. A rhino horn is, if you put it under a microscope, it's the exact same substance that makes up your fingernails and my toenails.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yet there is this myth that because a rhino horn, you know, looks like a giant phallic symbol, that if you grind it up and take it, it's some kind of natural Viagra to the power of 1,000.
Sure. That's intense.
Is it?
That's
Well,
intense.
imagine that. I had no idea. I thought maybe they just kind of they were selling for the ivory reasons.
Yeah.
I don't know what the...
Yeah. Please tell us, what is the difference between rhinos being poached 10 years ago and now? Is there a big difference?
There's a massive difference because the myth that rhino horn lends you some kind of next level sexual potency if you're a man who has problems in that department.
Wow.
Is predominantly to be found in the East, specifically Vietnam, Cambodia, and China. A couple of years ago, well, decades ago, rhinos were maybe 4 or 5 a year were being poached. But since the economic boom of China, there are now literally millions and millions of Chinese people who have huge amounts of disposable income and can now afford this substance which was previously out of bounds to them, and because it's very expensive, it's also a status symbol and it becomes a trend.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the poor rhinos are having to pay the price for that vanity.
Sad, eh?
And now, so, I mean, with all of this happening, how many species of rhino are there still today?
Well, I'm not that clued up. I'm not much of a naturalist, but I know that there are 3 main species.
Yeah.
There's the Javan rhino in India, which is practically extinct. There was another rhino species which went extinct in the 1920s, and the 2 predominant ones, which are only to be found in Africa, are the white rhino and the black rhino.
Okay.
The black rhino is on the brink of extinction, and the white rhino is doing a little bit better, but, you know, marginally.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. Can you please tell us how you guys got involved, what it is that Wild Aid does?
Okay, so how I came to be involved in the whole thing is in my position as a senior lecturer at Vega. We oversee one of the most exciting parts of the curriculum for our senior students, which is called the Brand Challenge. What happens is a group of brands, a mixture of commercial brands and non-profit organizations approach Vega with a challenge for the students to answer. So for 5 weeks, the students are all organized into these virtual agencies. All the different specialized, the creative students, the strat students, the honors students, they form teams. They need to give themselves an identity as an agency, and then they get briefed by what then becomes their client. And Wild Aid, which is a very high-powered and very prominent NGO whose specific cause is the eradication of rhino poaching, approached Vega and said, let's see if your students can come up with any innovative and groundbreaking solutions that maybe we haven't come up with yet. So for 5 weeks, there were 3 groups of students who worked night and day on trying to crack this brief from Wild Aid, which is the brief to the students was, how can we make all South Africans of all walks of life realize that the poaching of the rhino to the extinction level is an issue of national concern, that it will affect us all. If the rhinos are all dead, we can all feel shame as South Africans for not having prevented that.
So tell us a little bit about what came out of all of that. I mean, with Vega also being involved, Wild Aid involved, what came out of the students after they be approached by you guys?
Well, the way it works is that the students work very intensively on the brief, and during the 5 weeks that they work on it, they give interim presentations to panels of staff, and finally to a panel made up of the client, which was Wild Aid. And this particular group of students had come up with a very strong concept, with the brief being the poaching of rhinos to the state of extinction devalues South Africa as a whole. So they took this concept of devaluing from in a more which is meant in a figurative sense, and applied it in a literal way in terms of money. So the rhino is on the 10 Rand note. So their whole concept was, imagine from one day to the next, all 10 Rand notes just disappeared out of the economy. That's synonymous to what we would feel if suddenly the rhinos were all gone. So Wild Aid really saw, excuse the pun, value in this concept, and ended up using that idea to shoot the PSA, the public service announcement, that they eventually did.
That's so cool. If you look at solutions of this whole rhino poaching thing, why not dehorn rhinos?
Well, there's many potential solutions that get discussed. Dehorning is one of them, but from what I know, it's not a viable solution because the rhino, in fact, depends heavily on its horn to survive in the bush. It needs the horn to clear really tough, thorny bush so that it can get at the leaves that it needs.
Obviously, the horn has a purpose.
And the horn also, they use it fighting other rhinos. So if one rhino doesn't have its horn and it crosses paths with one that does, it's going to get gored. And it's also logistically a huge schlep to go around and tranquilize every rhino, and then it's traumatic for the rhino because you've got to get an industrial strength chainsaw and cut its horn off. And then the thing is, its horn does regrow quite quickly, so that's not one of the viable solutions.
All right, and also just fun. I mean, with regards to the PSA that came out, can people check it out? And what did they say in the PSA? I get you talk about the value and the money, but I mean, just from you actually have seen maybe a little bit of it.
I haven't seen the finished product. I do know that they based it very strongly on the idea that the students put together in a storyboard and did a little mock sheet where they showed you a whole bunch of scenarios throughout South Africa in all walks of life where suddenly, boom, the 10 Rand note is gone.
Just gone,
Awesome.
So everybody's sitting in the taxi trying to pay for the taxi, suddenly the 10 Rand note is gone. Little kids trying to buy the sweets, and that's them making the point that without the rhino, a fundamental aspect of who we are has gone.
That's beautifully said.
When the PSA is out, I'll shoot you guys an email.
Yeah, we want to check it out straight away.
On their own thing, and I'm sure they've done a fantastic job.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Before we have to go, can you just please shoot, you have a Facebook account for you guys, how people can support you guys?
Wild
Anything
Aid,
on social media?
Wild Aid, I haven't, I don't really speak for them, but if you just Google them, you'll find them easily enough. And on Vega's website, there's a link to the whole Wild Aid story, and that's just vegaschool.com.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you. I'm informed,
For sure.
And what I feel like you guys at home is like, please make sure like you spread the word, help save the rhino, whether it is just through your Facebook pages, whether it's just through awareness. Tell people, let people know, just clue them up about what's happening, that we could lose a very important part of who we are, what our identity as South Africans.
That's so true.
I think by now are we gonna